My name is Nicole with So Much More. In this video, we'll be making a boxy pouch. I'm using a fun fabric panel by Lisa Flower for Paintbrush Studio Fabrics. I'm also coordinating the fabric for the interior. We'll be using foam to give our bag structure, and we'll be installing our own rainbow zipper. This bag is so much fun to make. Let's get started. As I mentioned before, I'm using portions of a fun fabric panel as the exterior of this boxy pouch. I've cut a few images from the panel, and I'm even using a little bit of the interior fabric to make my exterior pieces. To get your cutting measurements for the boxy pouch, head over to the details of this video. You'll find information about how to obtain your own PDF copy of this pattern. I loved piecing together my own exterior. This panel is so cute and there's so many options available. I had plenty of different images left over to make several more projects. Once I've done all my exterior fabric assembly and trimming, I'll attach these pieces to my sew-in foam. I didn't show it in the video, but I'm also using a little bit of fabric adhesive spray. I'll simply lay them in place and then cut off the excess foam. I decided to do some straight line quilting to give the exterior of this bag some dimensional interest. So to start my straight line quilting, I used a friction pin on the back side of my foam. I drew a straight line and then started quilting from there. I'm using a quilting bar attachment on my Juki TL2010Q sewing machine. I can adjust how far apart my quilting lines will be by adjusting the quilting bar attachment. Simply line up the quilting bar with your last row of stitches. Continue stitching in this manner until your entire panel is covered with your straight line stitches. Straight line quilting is super fun and really easy, especially when you use that quilter guide, that quilting bar attachment. It makes spacing your quilting lines really even, and the overall effect is fantastic. Once you finish quilting your exterior panel, you'll trim your pieces to size. Now for the fun part. Let's attach a zipper head onto our zipper tape. I love these iridescent zipper pulls. They work great with this rainbow zipper tape. I recommend using a number 5 zipper. Number 5 zippers have a wider tape than regular zippers. Adding a zipper head to your zipper is easier than you actually think. It takes a little practice, but once you have it down, you'll never go back to using regular zippers again. So I'm just trimming down my zipper to size, and then we'll add it to the top of one of our panels. Align and clip your zipper right side facing the right side of your first fabric panel. Make sure your zipper head is facing the fabric. Normally, I'd tell you to use your zipper foot to attach this to your panel, but because your zipper tape is a number 5, you probably have enough room with your regular presser foot. Now I'm just going to go back over, not the same stitch, but I'm going from the back side to make sure that the piece of foam backing is secured, and it does provide some top stitching on the other side. Align your second panel to the top of the zipper tape and clip in place. If you're using directional fabric, you're going to want to make sure that everything is facing the right direction. You'll be sewing this in place just like the first time. Once I've attached my zipper, I like to move it back and forth to make sure that it moves freely, and then I'm going to be placing both panels right side together and sewing them at the bottom. Be sure to reference your pattern to know what seam allowance you'll use for this stitch. I'm using my grid glider, which is that green grid at the base of my sewing machine, to help me with the seam allowance. Unzip your zipper about halfway and then fold the sewn fabric panels so that the bottom seam is in the middle and the zipper is aligned on top of that. Align and secure the raw edges together and insert a pull tab. The loop of the pull tab should be facing towards the inside of the bag, while the raw edges are on the outside. Now, because I'm using a really thick pull tab material, I'm going to use my industrial sewing machine to secure these sides together. And I know not everyone has one of these machines, so I would recommend that you use a lighter fabric for your pull tab and your handles. We'll be repeating the same step for the other side, making sure that we're adding the pull tab before we sew everything together. Taking your ruler and measure, then draw some cut lines for your boxed corners. It's real important to make sure that when you do your measurements that you're doing it from your seam and not the very raw edge of your boxy pouch. Now I'm using a friction pen to make my cut lines, and then once I have those cut lines drawn, I'm going to be using some very sharp scissors to cut out my corners. Once we have those boxed corners cut, we're going to be inserting our handle and prepare to close those corners. So align this handle in the middle of the boxed corner. I like to use clips to secure that in place. Again, be sure to use a fabric thickness that your machine can handle. Not all machines would be able to handle multiple layers of foam, cotton fabric, and nylon strapping. There's lots of alternatives to nylon strapping, such as ribbon, or you can even make your own cotton fabric handles and pull tabs. Sew these edges closed. Make sure that you backstitch at the beginning and end of each side. Repeat these steps for the other side of the bag. This side is a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about capturing the handle. And now you're done sewing the exterior of your bag. So just turn it right side out and we're going to get started on the interior. Iron down the top edge of your interior fabric pieces. This will be your zipper side. Next, you're going to sew down that folded edge. Do that on both sides. Repeat all of the same steps that we made with the exterior of our bag. The only difference is that we're not adding pull tabs or a handle to the lining. Fold the sewn fabric panels so that the sewn edges are aligned in the middle. Then take some sewing pins and pin the raw edges. Pin both of these sides and sew these closed. Use your ruler and marking tool to create your boxed corners. Trace your lines and cut these out. And just like with the And just like with the exterior fabric, sew these closed. I find that with the interior fabric, using sewing pins is a lot easier than using the clips. Place your inside out interior bag inside of your right side out exterior bag. And then using clips, secure the zipper edge of your interior with the zipper tape of your exterior bag. Make sure you leave room for the zipper to maneuver. This step takes just a little bit of time. You'll want to make sure that you align everything so that the seams at each corner meet. Following the existing seams, sew the drop lining bag into the exterior of the bag for both sides. You'll not be able to reach your machine all the way to the end of each side, so be sure to back stitch. We're going to come back and do a little hand stitching with the remainder section of the lining to the exterior of the bag. It's easiest if you sew the drop lining to each side. Don't try to pin each side at the same time. Just sew one side, get that side done, and then sew the other side down. And as you turn your bag right side out, you'll notice there's a small gap. This is what we're going to be tacking down by hand. When you are hand sewing those unfinished places, go ahead and tack down each corner as well. As you can see on the inside of the bag, I've already completed the little bit of hand stitching that needed to be done. I've also tacked down the corners, which helps the lining to stay in place. Thanks so much for watching. Download my PDF pattern and make one for yourself.